This morning, it's a story we continue to follow, how colleges are adapting through the pandemic.
Yesterday, we shared with you ways on how colleges changed the way that they're doing tours. And now today, Daybreak's Lauren Hull is focusing on the future and how colleges are preparing for the long term, especially when it comes to the SATs and ACTs for prospective students. Lauren, what's going on? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Melissa. Good morning, Pete. This has been a historically stressful college admission season with so many families facing financial hardships on top of all the unknowns about timelines and more potential shutdowns. One thing that many colleges did to ease that tension was go for test optional this application cycle. The new policy dropped the requirement for students to take the SAT or ACT because so many of those tests were canceled in the pandemic. The entire SUNY system went test optional, and at Buffalo State College, it allowed them to take a more holistic approach when evaluating applications.
Looking at the coursework that they're taking, looking at the coursework that's offered at their high school, and looking at the pattern of their grades. Have they improved their grades from freshman year? Have they overcome a challenge in their own academic career, and seeing how they've progressed?
And some institutions have found that these test optional policies have led to an increase in applications and a more diverse pool. At UB, for example, they found that with some of those barriers removed, more women and people of color applied and were also accepted.
So what are we hearing? Is this a new normal that's going to stick around? SATs and ACTs, a thing of the past?
Yeah, I asked a lot of counselors. They all spoke with me for this story, and they really found the value in these policies. They don't see the tests going away completely, but they do see them diminishing in importance. SUNY is committed to the test optional policy through at least next year's admission cycle. And at Niagara University, they actually went test optional years ago, but in a non-pandemic year, they do look at those scores to decide on scholarships.
The test optional piece was something that we were really an early adopter of. Our philosophy was that, I think taking into account a student's 4-year portfolio speaks volumes more than a 2 or 3 hour test. So really from the application process, it wasn't a major change. And we've just adjusted the scholarship allocations a little bit differently.
Yeah, so in the future, if you don't include your scores, you could be leaving some money on the table. And of course, we want to know what you think. Should colleges go back to requiring the SATs and ACTs post-pandemic or stay test optional? Right now, votes are a little bit more split than they were last hour, guys. A few more votes for no than yes. And we are getting some comments from you. This one's from Jamie on Facebook. She says, no, they shouldn't. During this pandemic, many SAT test days were canceled, and it would be very unfair to require something that was extremely difficult to obtain. And that's exactly why those were changed, of course. And then Christina on Twitter let us know that a 4-hour test in no way captures the essence of a 4-year high school education, nor does it provide any indication of future success. So a lot of comments on our social media pages. You can leave one for us, and of course, vote in our poll, WGRZ.com/vote. And you can always text us your response too at 716-849-2200. Back to you guys.
I was never a good test taker. All right. Thanks very much, Lauren.